Hi, I would like to invite you today to make your own sphere, cube, cylinder, and cone. So you got some modeling clay, and maybe you're using that, or maybe you're using Play-Doh. You might have got some that are already pretty much cubes, or you might have gotten some that were long and thin. And it's interesting that these are the same size but different shapes. The same what's called volume, which you can tell by how much they weigh. So no matter what shape you start with, we're going to start all four shapes by just softening, squishing. It definitely takes some arm muscles. If you need an adult to help you soften it up, that's okay. And after we soften, we are going to start with the sphere. Here's one I made on the Zoom class with everybody. So you can roll it between your hands like this. You can roll it on a table or a board if you have some paper on there so it doesn't damage anything. Roll like this. Roll like this. And I keep saying roll because if you have spheres, can they stack? It's like a trick. Will they stack? No. Will it stay still or will it roll? It's going to roll right off. So you will know that your sphere is ready when it looks like a ball. It looks round all the way around and it can roll very easily. You've got a sphere. Set that aside, choose your next color, and we're going to start by making it into a sphere again. So we're going next for the cube, like a box. If you're calling it a cube, it has faces. These are called faces, that each one is a square. A lot of other box shapes have rectangular faces, and that has a big name that was in the video with the monster trucks called rectangular prism. This is a square prism, otherwise known as a cube. We're going to make this kind today. And you guys know from school and from being really little even that these will stack, right? Because each face is flat. So these stack, whereas the spheres don't stack. But do these roll as easily? It's not rolling down. So that's what I want you to play with your shapes. So you learn the properties, you learn how they move in the world and how we use them. So I'm starting by making the second one also into a sphere. The more you practice these names, the more you'll learn them. And now with this sphere, this is ready for me to turn it into a cube. So the cube has the top face and the bottom face across from each other, front and back, side and side. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces on it. So the way I make my cube, like a big die or dice, is I use 2 fingers together. I don't want to squish it in too much and have it indented. I want these to be flat faces, so I'm using 2 fingers and 1 thumb, and I'm going top, bottom, side, side, front, back, and I just keep turning it when I make mine. I want these flat faces, and I want 6 of them. If I squish on the corner that I'm making, then I'm not helping to make the face. So top, bottom, side, side, front, back. Keep turning it. I've got some specks of green on mine. The other thing that a cube has that a sphere doesn't have, between the faces, these sharp edges, and of course where 1, 2, 3 faces come together, that point is called a corner or a vertex, math term. If you were on the Zoom, you didn't catch all this part of the lesson. So I'm turning. Your pinky doesn't have to stand in the air. Turning, turning, turning. And now check it. You can also, if you've got your board or your book with paper or your tabletop with paper, this is flat. This is supposed to be flat. So that can help you to flatten, as long as you don't push too hard, because it'd be easy to squish it down so that it's too flat or not a cube anymore. But I'm making all these faces more flat by pushing them down. And now I have my cube. Do you think it will stack? There's one. Here's my one from the Zoom class. They're stacking like blocks. They're not rolling very easily. Of course, gravity will help and they'll eventually roll. We know that your dice were cubes and they rolled, but it's very different from your sphere, which will roll right down. Here's shape number 3. Now this is called cylinder. It could be shorter and wider like your tuna fish can. It could be taller and longer like a flashlight, pencil, crayon. From the side, I see pretty much a rectangle shape, but from the top or bottom, circles. So these are fun. These roll and stack. Will it roll? Yes. Will it stack? Yes. Let's see. This one stacks more easily. That's stacking on top. But they also both roll. After all, a wheel is a cylinder. So choose your third color. Now I'm working with these long ones, which pretty much are rectangular prisms, you could say. Like if you were getting a fishing pole in the mail or a wand, it might come in a rectangular prism box. Squish it up, make it soft, and turn it into a sphere first. Roll, 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 roll. And then if you've ever made a snake with your Play-Doh, that's what we're doing next. Now I'm not going around with my hands, I'm just going up and down. I'm making this circular part. But as I push, it's also getting longer because of the pressure between my hands. This is another great time to use your board or your table with paper if you don't want to get it dirty. Roll, roll, roll. But the other thing it can do, remember, is stack. So this bottom and top are very flat. So to create that, push, switch it over both sides, push, roll. We're doing two different things. We're trying to make it roll one way and stack another way. And if I just squeeze and squeeze, roll, 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 it gets really long and thin. If you're working with Play-Doh, you know that. That's happened, or it's happening right now. I'm not pushing with one finger because I don't want to just squish in the middle. I want this part to be like a rectangle. Straight, straight, all the way around. Here's a cylinder, my marker, right? So this is a straight line like a rectangle. There's your circle. Roll, roll, roll. Push, push. Roll, roll, roll. Push, push. Remember, this video can be paused anytime as you work, and you can come back to it. I forgot to remind you to clean your hands first so you don't get too much dirt on your clay or Play-Doh. All right, there's my cylinder, like a mini soup can. Can it stack? Let's see. Here's the wooden one. They're stacking. Can it roll the other way? Sure does. That's my cylinder. So far, sphere rolls any direction. Cube stacks. Cylinder stacks and rolls. My last one is the cone. Here's a cardboard cone. From the bottom, you see a circle. From the side, what's that? A triangle. From the top, it's supposed to be a point. This one has a tinier circle. A lot of the ones you see, the safety cones, have that. So once again, and here's the one I already made. From the side, it's a triangle. Remember how straight your fingers can be. You're going to help make this a nice diagonal line instead of all pushed in one. So you've got your last piece of clay or Play-Doh. Soften it, squish it, roll it into a sphere. And now we're going to start by pushing it against our hard surface to make this flat circular bottom. I already have a circle shape because I made a rough sphere. So I'm pushing that down to make a flat bottom, and I'm using my fingers together to make that angled in diagonal side coming up to a point. If you just push in with your fingers, it's going to have some dips in it. And also you don't want your top, here's a paper cone I made, so that comes to more of a point. But it's tricky, especially with Play-Doh, to make it so long, it'll get floppy. Pushing on the bottom to make a circle, I keep turning around and squeezing up towards the top. Starting to get a triangular shape here, right? Starting to get that circle side. You can push around like this, coming to a point. The reason I turn it is so that it's even all around. Push down on the bottom, turn, squeeze a little bit. Something that you'll discover at home, I hope, is what cones look like when they roll. And maybe you have some sort of a toy or tool at home that's a mini cone and you've tried to roll it. Maybe you've used a safety cone and rolled that. But the safety cones have that square bottom, so they're harder to roll. Do you think that cones could stack? Can you stack on top of that point? They sure can nest in each other, right? If they have these open bottoms, yes, they can stack like that. That's nesting inside each other. But if this had a solid bottom, would this stand on top of that or would it wobble? I don't have one to try. But I'm about to have two cones because I have this one and this one. I'm going to make it a little more pointy. And still circular bottom. Does that look like a triangle from the side? I'm rushing a little bit, but yeah. Triangle, circle. So, can these stack? Here's my trial. Didn't work. No. But when it rolls, what happens? This is so cool. Happens? Is it rolling right off? It's rolling around in a circle. Have fun. Thanks for coming.